The day after the wedding, my mother-in-law showed up at my apartment with her so-called real grandchildren. She kicked my own kids out into the hallway and said, "These little sheep can stay outside. You need to take care of my grandkids properly." Well, I did take care of everyone, so well that they definitely won't forget it anytime soon. Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Room of Stories. Today, we're diving into a powerful, emotional story. It all starts with something as simple as a car breaking down, but from there, it turns into a roller coaster of family drama, secrets, and a mother's fight for justice. Just imagine, a quick trip to the car repair shop leads to a life-changing event. One that forces a strong, loving mother to stand up to her mother-in-law's cruel plans. This is a story about control, loyalty, and what happens when you don't speak up for your loved ones in time. So sit back and get comfortable. An exciting story is about to begin. Enjoy listening and stay healthy. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss our newest stories. Marta Belisova never thought her life would change so drastically just because of a broken car. At 36 years old, Marta had everything under control. She was a successful architect with her own firm and a mom to 2 teens. She was used to solving problems fast and keeping things together. But on one Tuesday in October, her white Hyundai Solaris suddenly wouldn't start, at the worst possible moment. "Mom, are we going to be late for English class?" Kira, her 15-year-old daughter, asked anxiously, shifting her backpack. "You won't be late," Marta said calmly, dialing a tow truck. "Uncle Mikhail will pick you up after tutoring." Timur, 13, kept his eyes on his phone, pretending not to care. But Marta noticed the quick glance he gave her. He was just as worried as Kira. The repair shop was in an industrial area, surrounded by warehouses. Marta had already sent her car there twice in the past month, both times through her brother, Mikhail. The first time was for strange engine noises. The second, a gear issue. Mikhail always picked up the car afterward, impressed with the mechanic. "I'm telling you, Martachka, this guy has magic hands," he'd say. "And the prices are fair, not like those fancy places." But this time, Mikhail was away on a business trip. Marta had to handle it herself. By lunchtime, the tow truck dropped off her car. Marta arrived in a taxi and looked around. The place was clean, with 4 car lifts and decent equipment. She saw someone's legs sticking out from under a car. "Excuse me," she called out. "I'm looking for the repairman, Gennady." The legs shifted, and a man around 40 crawled out. He was tall, strong, with dark hair touched with gray. He looked tired but kind. Wiping his hands with a rag, he walked over and said, "I'm Gennady Kritikov. You must be Mikhail Belisov's sister?" Marta raised an eyebrow. "Yes, I am. But how did you know?" He smiled. "He brought your Hyundai in twice already. Said his sister's an architect, has 2 kids, and a will of steel." "That sounds about right," Marta laughed. "But I've got another problem. The car started this morning, but after lunch, nothing." Gennady nodded and walked over to her car. Marta followed, watching how confidently he moved. His hands were skilled, strong but neat. "Starter's dead," he said after checking under the hood. "We'll need to replace it. I can finish it by tomorrow lunchtime. Need to order the part." Marta checked her watch. It was 2:30. Mikhail would take care of the kids for the evening, and she could use the metro tomorrow. "Okay, I agree. How much will it cost?" Gennady gave her a price that was surprisingly low. "Honestly, I didn't expect that," Marta said. "No need to rip people off," he shrugged. "Cars are different, but the problems are the same. You can still make money by being honest." And just when Marta thought that was it, a twist came that no one saw coming. Gennady was walking Marta to the exit when she casually said, "It's strange, we haven't met before. Mikhail already brought the car here twice." Gennady stopped and looked thoughtful. "Yeah, I was surprised. Usually the car owners come in themselves. But your brother always showed up alone. I actually thought something serious was going on, like maybe you couldn't come because of some big issue." Marta felt a bit caught off guard. Mikhail had never said anything about the mechanic wondering why she wasn't there. In fact, her brother always made it seem like he had volunteered to handle everything. He said you're really busy, Gennady added. Said you run your own architecture firm and don't have time to deal with this kind of stuff. That's true, Marta said, nodding. But still, it's odd. Normally, I handle this kind of thing myself. Gennady looked at her kindly. Maybe your brother just wanted to help. Some guys still think women shouldn't deal with car repairs. Maybe, Marta agreed, but deep down, she started to feel like Mikhail had been planning something. The next day, Marta took a taxi to pick up her car. Gennady was just finishing the repairs when she arrived. He looked much fresher than the day before, wearing a clean shirt, dark jeans, and his hair nicely combed. All done, he said, wiping his hands. New starter installed. Should last a long time. Marta got in and turned the key. The engine started smoothly. Perfect, she smiled. Thanks for the great work. You're welcome, Gennady said. Then, a little shyly, he added, Can I ask something? Why didn't you ever come in person before? Marta thought for a moment. That was a good question. I'm not sure, honestly, she said. Mikhail always insisted on handling it. He said I was too busy and didn't need to waste time on car stuff. Gennady smiled. My schedule's not tight. I work when I want. It's my shop. Your shop? Marta asked, surprised. Mikhail told me you were just a mechanic. Well, I am, Gennady said, but I also own half the place. My partner handles the finances. I take care of the repairs. Suddenly, things started making more sense to Marta. Mikhail had definitely kept some things from her. Can I ask, she said carefully, did you and Mikhail ever talk about me? Gennady looked a little awkward. Well, yes, sometimes. He was curious. Asked what I thought of you. Said you were beautiful, smart but distant. He also told me you haven't dated anyone since your divorce. Marta sighed. Mikhail talks too much. Sorry, Gennady said quickly. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. No, it's fine, Marta said. I'm just surprised by my brother, that's all. They stood near the car, and suddenly, Marta didn't feel like leaving. There was something about Gennady, calm, honest, reliable. His eyes were kind. And after everything she'd been through over the past 3 years, it felt refreshing. Do you have a family? She asked impulsively. I have 2 kids, Gennady replied. A son and a daughter from my first marriage. Their mom passed away 4 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up something painful. It's okay, he said gently. Time helps. The kids live with their grandmother, my mom. It's easier that way. I work late, and she helps take care of them. Marta nodded. There was no sadness in his voice, just calm acceptance. Well, I should get going, she said. Thanks again for the repair. Anytime, Gennady said. And tell Mikhail, he's sneaky. I figured out he was trying to set us up. Marta laughed. I'll definitely tell him. And I'll also tell him that next time, I'm coming in person. I'd be glad, Gennady smiled. On the way home, Marta couldn't stop thinking about her brother's strange behavior. Mikhail had always been supportive, but he had never interfered in her personal life. After her divorce, he'd avoided the topic of dating altogether, knowing she wasn't ready for anything new. When Marta got home, the kids were waiting. Kira was doing her homework at the kitchen table. Timur was on the console. Mom, Uncle Misha called, Kira said without looking up from her notebook. He asked if you picked up the car. I did, Marta said. And what else did he say? That he'll call again tonight. Sure enough, Mikhail called around 9 o'clock, once the kids were in bed. So, how's the car? He asked, clearly trying to sound casual. It's fine, Miss Hanya. But why didn't you tell me Gennady owns the repair shop? Oh, I didn't think it mattered, Mikhail said, hesitating. And why were you the one taking the car there before? I just thought it was easier. You're always busy. Mikhail, Marta said firmly. What exactly are you up to? He sighed. Martachka, come on. You haven't looked at a single man in 3 years. You've thrown yourself into work and the kids. Gennady's a good guy. Serious. I thought maybe you two would hit it off. So, you decided everything for me? No, I didn't decide anything, Mikhail said quickly. I just created a chance for you to meet. The rest is up to you. Marta wasn't sure if she should be mad at him or thank him. On one hand, it felt like he crossed a line. On the other, Gennady really had made a good impression. Next time, tell me in advance if you're planning something like this, she warned. So, there will be a next time? Mikhail said hopefully. Maybe, Marta replied, avoiding a clear answer. A week later, the second unexpected twist happened. Marta ran into Gennady at the shopping mall. She was looking for a birthday gift for Timur. Gennady was doing his weekly grocery shopping. Marta, he said with a smile. What a surprise. How's the car? Running perfectly, thanks to you. What are you doing here? She asked.
Shopping.
Once a week I buy groceries for myself, my mom, and the kids. They ended up walking through the mall together, chatting. Gennady talked about his children, his son, Oleg, and daughter, Zlata. Oleg is finishing college this year, he said proudly. He wants to be an engineer. Zlata studies music and plays piano. It must be hard raising them alone, Marta said. Well, not completely alone. My mom helps a lot. Gennady smiled. Sometimes a bit too much. She always thinks she knows best. Do they live with you? Marta asked. No, they live at my mom's house. It's big, with a yard. After my wife died, we decided it would be better for the kids to have space to play. I stayed in my apartment. Marta nodded. That setup made sense. And where do you live? Gennady asked. In Marina. Just a regular 3-room apartment in a panel building. Nothing fancy, but it's close to school and the metro. Good for the kids. And work. I rent a small office in the city center. My own business, small, but mine. Gennady stopped near a display of electronics. You know, he said, if you've got time, maybe we could grab a coffee? Marta checked her watch. She still had an hour before the kids would be home.
Sure, she said.
They sat at a small cafe in the food court and talked for nearly 2 hours. Gennady shared stories about his work, his ideas for growing the car service, and his life with his kids. Marta opened up too, talking about her projects and about Kira and Timur. Does your ex-husband still see the kids? Gennady asked gently. He tries, Marta said with a sigh. But not regularly. He has a new family now. New priorities. I see. And how do your kids feel about that? It's different for each of them. Kira is older, she understands. But Timur, he still hopes. He thinks his dad stopped loving him. That's hard, Gennady said with quiet sympathy. My kids know their mom is gone. But divorce, that feels like betrayal to a child. Marta was surprised at how deeply he understood. Not many men did. And how do your kids feel about you dating someone new? She asked directly. Gennady paused to think. Oleg's grown up. He doesn't care. But Zlata, she struggled. When I went on a few dates, she felt like I was being disloyal to her mom. And how did you handle that? I didn't, he admitted. Not yet. I just haven't met anyone serious enough to talk to her about it. Marta realized the conversation was heading into risky territory. They were starting to talk like there might be something between them, even though they'd only known each other for a week. I should go, she said, standing up. The kids will be home soon. Of course, Gennady nodded. Maybe we can see each other this weekend? I'm not sure, Marta hesitated. Maybe we'll go to the park or something. She wasn't sure what to say. On one hand, she really liked Gennady. On the other, she was scared, afraid of getting hurt again, afraid of trusting the wrong person. Okay, she finally said. But I want to bring the kids. I need to see how they feel about you. That's fair, Gennady agreed. Mine should meet you too. They decided to meet on Saturday at Sokolniki Park. Marta would bring Kira and Timur, and Gennady promised to bring his children too. Later at home, Marta couldn't stop thinking. Gennady seemed honest and kind, someone she could rely on. But after everything she'd been through, she couldn't let her guard down too quickly. Saturday's meetup went better than expected. The kids got along right away. Oleg was polite and serious. Zlata was sweet and musically gifted. Kira and Timur made a good impression too. Mom, Uncle Gina is actually cool, Kira whispered while they were feeding ducks. He's not Uncle Gina, he's Gennady Viktorovich, Marta corrected. Okay, but he's still cool. And Zlata's really pretty. We've been messaging on V-Contact already. Timur was quieter, but he didn't seem upset. No signs of jealousy or discomfort. Over the next month, they met several more times. Gennady slowly became part of their lives. He helped Timur with his computer. He drove Kira to her tutoring lessons when Marta had client meetings. The relationship moved slowly, and Marta liked that. Gennady didn't rush her. He wasn't pushy, didn't try to take over as man of the house, and never pressured her for anything more. But everything changed at the end of November. Plot twist number 3 came when Gennady invited Marta to his apartment for dinner. The kids stayed with Mikhail, so it was the first time she was alone with him at his place. His apartment was simple but cozy. 2 rooms, a nice kitchen, modern appliances. Photos of his kids lined the shelves, along with car magazines and books. It's nice here, Marta said, looking around. Thanks. My mom says it's too modest. Gennady smiled. She thinks a man in my position should live somewhere fancier. And what is your position? Marta teased with a smile. Nothing special, he shrugged. The car service is doing well. Plus I have a small cottage outside the city. I'm not rich, but I'm not poor either. You have a cottage? Marta asked, surprised. Why don't you live there? Well, my mom and the kids live there. And for me, it's easier to be close to work. Gennady went into the kitchen to cook. Marta stayed in the living room. While looking at some photos, her hand accidentally brushed a pile of papers on the desk. They slid to the floor. As she picked them up, one document caught her eye. It was a property ownership certificate. But the name listed wasn't Gennady's. It was Elena Alexeyevna Kritikova. Her heart skipped a beat. It was his late wife's name. And the document showed the house was still registered in her name, even though she passed away 2 years ago. Marta, dinner's ready. Gennady called from the kitchen. Marta quickly gathered the papers and put them back in place, trying to stay calm. She joined him for dinner and tried to act normal, but her mind was racing. Why was the house still in his wife's name? Did Gennady even know? You seem distracted, he said, watching her. Is everything okay? I'm just tired, Marta lied. Busy day at work. Complicated project. He nodded, but she could tell he wasn't fully convinced. That night at home, Marta couldn't sleep. The document kept bothering her. Maybe it was just a paperwork error. Maybe they hadn't finished transferring the property. But her gut told her something wasn't right. And she had a strong feeling that Gennady's mother, Valentina Ivanovna, had something to do with it. Marta had never met her, but now she felt like she needed to know more. The next day, Marta called a lawyer she knew and asked a simple question. Is it even possible to register property under the name of someone who's already passed away? The lawyer paused. Technically, yes, she said. But only if someone uses forged documents or a fake power of attorney. And that would be illegal. And if the legal heirs don't know about it? Marta asked. Then they're being lied to, the lawyer replied. And possibly robbed. Sooner or later, the truth would come out, and then the real problems would begin. Marta thanked the lawyer for the advice and started thinking things over. Gennady seemed honest. She guessed he probably didn't know about the fake documents. But then who did?
And why?
The answer came a week later. Gennady called and said, My mom really wants to meet you. She's inviting us to dinner on Sunday with the kids, of course. Where does she live? Marta asked. In the same cottage I told you about in Barvika. Marta knew Barvika was a rich area. Houses there cost a fortune. And if Gennady's name wasn't on the house papers, then who actually owned it? All right, Marta said. We'll come. She felt that meeting Valentina Ivanovna would finally bring some answers, and maybe also test a relationship with Gennady. They visited on a Sunday in mid-December. The cottage was bigger and fancier than Marta expected, a large 2-story brick house with nice landscaping and expensive cars outside. It looked like something a rich businessman would own, not a car service co-owner. Valentina Ivanovna greeted them at the door. She was about 60, nicely dressed in a cashmere outfit with gold jewelry. Her eyes were sharp and watchful. Janotchka, she smiled, hugging her son. And you must be Marta. Marta held out her hand to say hello, but the older woman hugged her instead. You're beautiful, she said, then looked at the kids. And what lovely children. Come in, I'll show you around. The house tour lasted half an hour. There were 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a big kitchen, and fancy decorations everywhere, antique furniture, carpets, and paintings. You live very well, Marta said. It was Gina's late wife, Lena, who made it all look this nice, the mother sighed. She had good taste. Too bad, she didn't get to enjoy it. Oleg and Zlata welcomed the guests, but they seemed cautious, especially around their grandmother. At dinner, Valentina asked Marta polite questions about her job and her kids, but Marta felt there was a hidden meaning in every word. So, why did you get divorced, if you don't mind me asking? She asked while pouring tea. We just didn't get along, Marta replied shortly. I see. Does your ex pay child support? Mom, Gennady interrupted. That's personal. Oh, come on, Janachka, she waved him off. We're almost family now. Families should be open. Marta felt tense. No one had even talked about marriage yet, but Valentina was already treating her like a daughter-in-law. After dinner, the kids went off to play. Oleg showed Kira and Timur his room. Zlata played piano. The adults stayed in the living room. Marta dear, Valentina said in a softer tone, I'm so glad Gina met you. After Lena passed, he was so down. I thought he'd be alone forever. We're still just getting to know each other, Marta said carefully. What do you mean? It's obvious you're a great match. Valentina waved her off. You'll be married by spring, just wait. Gennady gave a little cough, embarrassed but didn't say anything. That night, as she tucked in the kids, Marta asked what they thought. The house is amazing, Timur said. But the grandma, she's kinda weird. She kept asking about money. Oleg told me she's super strict, Kira added. If you mess up, she won't talk to you for a week. And she said something to Zlata when she thought we couldn't hear, Timur said. Something like, let's see what kind of manners these kids have. Marta frowned. Valentina was already judging her children, like they were applying for a spot in her perfect family. Over the next few months, Marta's relationship with Gennady grew stronger. He turned out to be exactly the kind of man she had been looking for, kind, stable, caring. He bonded with the children too. Kira even started calling him Dad Gina, and Timur often asked him for help with math. Valentina Ivanovna was being unusually kind. She started inviting Marta and the kids to family dinners, asked about how they were doing, and even gave them gifts. For New Year's, she gave Kira an expensive tablet and Timur a gaming console. Why such expensive gifts? Marta asked Gennady. Mom's just generous, he replied with a shrug. She likes spoiling kids. But Marta started noticing strange things in Valentina Ivanovna's behavior. She always praised her own grandchildren, how smart they were, how talented. When she talked about Marta's kids, she was polite but never sounded truly excited. Then in February, Gennady proposed. It was romantic, a walk in a snowy park under the stars. Marta, he said, getting down on one knee, I want us to be a real family. Will you marry me? The ring was simple and elegant, white gold with a small diamond. Yes, Marta said, her heart full of joy. The kids were happy about the news. Even Oleg and Zlata reacted positively. The only one who went over the top was Valentina Ivanovna. Finally, she said when she heard the news. I was starting to think you'd take forever. She jumped straight into planning the wedding, suggesting restaurants, picking menus, making lists. Maybe we should keep it small, Marta suggested. Just close family. What? Valentina Ivanovna looked shocked. A wedding should be big and beautiful. Gina deserves a real celebration. Marta noticed something odd. She said Gina deserved it, not they. Then came a surprising twist. 3 months before the wedding, Valentina Ivanovna suddenly became super generous with Marta's kids. She gave Kira a designer jacket. Try it on, dear, she cooed. A future daughter should look proper. She gave Timur a full football uniform and cleats. The boy should do sports, she explained. We'll find him a good club. Marta was confused. Her mother-in-law had always treated her kids politely but distantly. Now she was showering them with gifts. Maybe she's starting to love them, Gennady said when Marta told him. Maybe, Marta replied, but she still had doubts. Her suspicions grew when Valentina Ivanovna began pushing her own plans onto their future. After the wedding, move in with me, she said. There's plenty of space. It'll be better for the kids. And you can rent your apartment. It'll bring in extra money. Thank you, Marta said politely, but we're not ready for that. Why not? Valentina didn't understand. There's a great school nearby, clean air, perfect for raising kids. But our kids are used to their own school and their friends, Marta replied. I don't want to uproot their lives. Well, as you wish, the mother-in-law sighed. But the offer still stands. Marta noticed how Valentina always stressed how this arrangement would benefit the children, but mostly her own grandchildren. Imagine how nice it'll be for Oleg and Zlata to have a brother and sister, Valentina said. It'll be a big, happy family. But when it came to actual details, things didn't add up. Oleg will be going to college soon. He needs peace and quiet to study, Valentina said. And Zlata needs silence for her music. We'll have to teach her kids some discipline. Marta started to realize that in Valentina's mind, one big family meant her children taking a back seat to Oleg and Zlata. Things got worse when they went to choose a wedding dress. Valentina insisted on a fancy boutique. The consultant showed off gowns costing 10 to 15,000 rubles. That's the one, Valentina said, pointing at a gown with lace and rhinestones. You'll look like a real princess. It's too flashy, Marta said. I'd prefer something simpler. But this is a special day, Valentina insisted. We can't be cheap. It's not about money, it's about style. All right, she finally said. But Marta saw the disappointment in her eyes. In the fitting room, when they were alone, Valentina suddenly leaned in and said quietly, Martachka, I want to tell you something. Gina is a simple man, she said. He's not used to women who demand too much. Lena was always very agreeable and never argued. I don't want to argue over little things, Marta would reply. Of course, Valentina Ivanovna would say, but in a family, it's the wife who must give in more. Marta started to feel that something wasn't right. It seemed like Valentina Ivanovna was trying to prepare her for a certain role in the family. When it came to the children, her mother-in-law often said, all kids are nice, but Oleg and Zlata are special. They're used to care and attention. I wouldn't want them to feel like they have to share love. There's enough love for everyone, Marta said firmly. Yes, but things must be fair. My grandchildren were born in this house. This is their home. And your kids? Well, they're more like guests. Marta felt cold all over. This was how Valentina Ivanovna really saw her kids, not as family but as outsiders. Unwanted ones. Valentina Ivanovna, Marta said calmly, after the wedding, all the children will be equal. There shouldn't be any ours or theirs. Oh, my dear, the older woman laughed. Of course, they're equal, but still, everyone should know their place in the family. Marta didn't argue anymore, but now she understood. Valentina Ivanovna had a plan, and in that plan, Marta's kids were not going to be treated the same. Later, Marta told Gennady what happened. Mom doesn't always choose her words well, he said. She means well. She's just protective of her grandkids. She said my kids are just guests, Gina. I'll talk to her, he replied. I'll explain that all the children are ours now. But Marta could tell Gennady didn't want to believe there was a problem. To him, his mother could do no wrong. The idea that she had her own selfish plans seemed impossible to him. 1 month before the wedding, Valentina Ivanovna started pushing even more. Martachka, do you know how to cook? She asked during dinner. Yes, I do, Marta answered. Gina loves home-cooked food. Can you make Ukrainian borscht? Kiev cutlets? Thin pancakes? I'll learn if I need to. You will need to, Valentina said. A man needs to be well-fed. And the house must be spotless too. I'll teach you how to clean properly. Marta could barely hide her irritation. It was clear that her mother-in-law didn't see her as a partner to Gina, just a cook and maid. Will your children help around the house? Valentina asked. There's a lot to do here. One person can't handle it. My kids are used to helping, Marta replied. That's good. Kira is old enough to look after the younger ones. Timur can clean the yard. Oleg and Zlata won't have time for chores. They'll be busy with school and music. Now it was obvious. In Valentina Ivanovna's eyes, Marta's children were expected to serve her grandchildren. Then, just a week before the wedding, Marta discovered something shocking. She visited a notary she knew, Sergei Albertovich, for work. During the meeting, he asked, Marta Viktorovna, is your future mother-in-law Valentina Ivanovna Kritikova?
Yes. Why?
What a coincidence. She came to see me recently with a strange request. What kind of request? She wanted to make a will for the house in Barvika. Said she owned it. Marta felt dizzy. What did you tell her? What could I say? The notary shrugged. I asked for proof of ownership. She brought some papers, but I knew right away they were fake. I refused to do the will. How did she react? She got upset at first, then said she'd find another notary. She told me that her grandchildren must inherit the house, not some stranger's kids. Marta went pale. So, Valentina Ivanovna had already made plans to cut Marta's kids out of the inheritance. Marta asked the notary, Sergei Albertovich, can you tell me who really owns the house? He said, officially, it belonged to your fiancé's late wife. But by law, the house should go to her children when they turn 18. So, it's for the kids from Latvia?
Exactly.
Until they're adults, their father is the legal guardian, not the grandmother. Marta thanked him and left the office, completely shocked. Not only did Valentina Ivanovna want to turn her children into servants, but she also wanted to steal what legally belonged to them. At home, Marta thought hard about whether to tell Gennady. On one hand, he had the right to know, but on the other, it could ruin everything right before the wedding. She decided to wait. The wedding first. Then she'd deal with his mother. Now Marta clearly saw the whole plan. After the wedding, Valentina Ivanovna would try to take control of the house, turn Marta's children into helpers for her own grandchildren, and secretly remove them from the inheritance. Marta realized the real fight would start right after the honeymoon. The sixth shock came on the wedding day. Marta had stepped outside to get some fresh air. The celebration was at a quiet countryside hotel with a small group, just family, friends, and colleagues. Valentina Ivanovna had invited 3 of her rich, powerful friends. In the garden, Marta accidentally overheard them talking in a gazebo. Valia, how's your new daughter-in-law? One woman asked. Isn't she too independent? She's tolerable for now, Valentina replied, but I'll have to retrain her. She's too used to being in charge. Do you have a plan? Asked another. Of course, she laughed. First, I'll move them all into the house. I'll make the rules. I'll show her who's boss. And what about her kids? Oh, I'll deal with them too. I'll teach them to respect their elders. My grandchildren come first. The others can help out. But what if Marta doesn't agree? Asked the third woman. She'll have no choice, Valentina replied confidently. The wedding's done. There's no turning back. Gina listens to me, he always has. And if she resists, I'll make her life so hard she'll leave herself.
Her kids will stay.
Oleg and Zlata are my blood. The rest don't matter. Marta stood behind the bushes, frozen, listening to her mother-in-law casually talk about tearing her family apart. It was clear now, Valentina didn't want to accept her or her children. She saw Marta as someone temporary, someone to use and throw away. What about the house? One friend asked. It's not even in your name. I'll handle it, Valentina said confidently. I'll find a way to give it to my grandchildren. Those other kids won't get a thing. Be careful, Valia. Things aren't like they used to be. Laws are strict now. What laws? Valentina waved it off. I've lived long enough to know. There's always a way. Marta quietly walked away. Her heart was racing with anger. Now, everything made sense. Valentina had no intention of treating her fairly. She wanted Marta to be a maid, and her kids to serve her grandchildren. But now Marta knew. She wouldn't be silent. She wouldn't let it happen. Back in the hall, she looked at Gennady dancing with Kira, smiling, happy. Did he know his mother's real plans? Or was he also being fooled? Mom, why do you look so serious? Timur asked. It's your wedding. It's nothing, son, Marta smiled. I'm just thinking about the future. Dad, Gina said we'll all live together now in one big house, he said happily. We'll see, she said gently. Marta knew one thing for sure. The real battle hadn't started yet. Valentina Ivanovna had underestimated her. She thought Marta would be easy to control. But she was wrong. Martha had no plans to become a maid, or to let her children be treated like they didn't matter. If her mother-in-law wanted war, then war it would be. The wedding ended late that evening, and the newlyweds left for a short honeymoon in Sochi, just 3 days. Kira and Timur stayed with Uncle Mikhail, while Oleg and Zlata were left with their grandmother. On the plane, Gennady gently took Martha's hand. I'm so happy we're a family now, he said warmly. Me too, Martha replied with a smile. But deep down, she was already bracing herself for the fight that would start as soon as they got back. Valentina Ivanovna thought she had everything under control. But tomorrow, the new daughter-in-law would show her otherwise. They came back from Sochi on Wednesday evening, tired but smiling. A few days by the sea helped Marta clear her mind and take a break from worrying about her mother-in-law's schemes. Gennady had been sweet and thoughtful, talking about their future life together. It made her want to believe everything would be okay. Work tomorrow, he said as they carried their bags into the apartment. Day after tomorrow, we'll pick up the kids. Mikhail said. Kira and Timur miss us, Marta added. I miss them too, she smiled. I can't wait to have everyone together. The apartment was clean and cozy. Mikhail had stopped by to water the plants and check the mail. A short note from him lay on the kitchen table. Welcome home. The kids are fine. Kira's helping with Timur. Call me when you're settled. The next morning, Gennady left early for work as usual. Marta stayed home, unpacking and getting ready for the work week. At 9 a.m., the doorbell rang. Thinking it was the postman or a neighbor, she looked through the peephole and froze. It was Valentina Ivanovna, and she had Oleg and Zlata with her. Martushka, open up, her mother-in-law called out cheerfully. We came to visit. Marta opened the door, confused about why they were there so early and with luggage. Hello, she said. Come in. Valentina Ivanovna walked in, beaming. Well, now that we've all gotten to know each other better, I decided it's time the kids got used to their new home. What new home? Marta asked, trying to stay calm. Well, you're a family now, aren't you? That means all the children live together. So I brought Oleg and Zlata to move in. Marta's heart started to race. There had been no discussion about Gennady's children moving in. And this apartment was way too small for 6 people. Valentina Ivanovna, Marta said slowly, Gennady and I haven't talked about that yet. What's there to talk about? Her mother-in-law replied with a dismissive wave. Children should live with their father. It makes no sense for him to live in one place and them in another. Oleg and Zlata stood awkwardly in the hallway with small bags, looking unsure. Marta realized they had been told nothing either. Come into the living room, she said. Let's talk. As soon as they sat down, Valentina Ivanovna took charge. So, show me where my grandchildren will stay, she said, glancing around. Oleg needs his own room. He's a young man. Maybe Zlata can share with your Kira? Marta cut her off gently but firmly. Valentina Ivanovna, I think decisions like that should be made by the parents, not the grandmother. What parents? The older woman snapped. I'm Gennady's mother. I have every right to be involved. Being involved is one thing, Marta replied calmly. But making decisions on your own? That's not okay. Valentina Ivanovna's smile faded. Her tone went cold. Listen, dear, she said. You just got married, and you're already acting like the boss. I just believe that my husband and I should make big decisions together, Marta said evenly. Together with your husband? Her mother-in-law mocked. What about the kids? Oleg and Zlata have every right to live with their father. Marta looked at the teenagers. Oleg was glued to his phone, clearly uncomfortable. It was obvious even to them. This situation wasn't right. Zlata nervously played with her bag strap. Oleg, Zlata, do you want to live here? Marta asked kindly. Well, I'm not sure, Oleg said, unsure. Grandma said we should, but I feel bad leaving her alone, Zlata added quietly. Valentina Ivanovna frowned. What nonsense is this? Of course they want to live with their dad. What child wouldn't? But their dad already sees them often, Marta replied calmly. And there's just not enough space here. Not enough space? In a 3-bedroom apartment, the mother-in-law snapped. Where do your children live then? They live here. This is their home. Their home? Valentina Ivanovna stood up from the couch. And what about my grandchildren? Are they homeless now? Marta could feel the conversation going in the wrong direction. Her mother-in-law clearly didn't come to talk. She came to decide. Let's wait for Gennady to come home, Marta said firmly. We'll all talk calmly then. There's nothing to discuss. Valentina Ivanovna snapped. And where are your children anyway? Why aren't they home? They're with my brother. We came back yesterday, and we're picking them up today. Oh, so my grandchildren can wait, but yours can't. Marta's patience was wearing thin. She could tell her mother-in-law was trying to stir up trouble. My children live here. This is their home, she said steadily. And what about my grandchildren? Are they just going to stay with me forever? Am I their nanny for life? You're their grandmother, Marta replied. And from what I see, you've done a great job raising them so far. Don't you dare tell me what to do, Valentina Ivanovna shouted. You're a stranger here. The room fell into silence. Oleg and Zlata exchanged worried glances. Marta looked at her mother-in-law in disbelief. A stranger, she repeated. Valentina Ivanovna didn't back down. I brought my grandchildren into this family. Now I run this house. I'm Gennady's wife. And I have 2 children, Marta said firmly. Wife, the mother-in-law scoffed. Anyone can get married. Your kids are just extras. Marta felt her anger rising but kept herself calm, for the kids' sake. Oleg, Zlata, she said gently, why don't you go to the kitchen and have some tea? They're not going anywhere, Valentina Ivanovna snapped. Let them hear who's in charge here. Grandma, maybe we shouldn't fight? Zlata said softly. Don't interrupt when adults are talking, her grandmother snapped harshly. Marta saw Zlata flinch. Oleg looked very uncomfortable too. Valentina Ivanovna, Marta said firmly, please stop yelling at the children. Don't tell me what to do. The mother-in-law snapped again. They're my grandchildren. I'll raise them how I want. Then raise them at your house, Marta said. They're here now, Valentina Ivanovna said with a smug smile. Because this is our home now. Marta realized the situation was becoming too real. Her mother-in-law truly thought she had taken over.
Just then the doorbell rang.
Marta rushed to answer it, hoping it was Gennady. But it was Kira, Timur, and her brother Mikhail. Surprise.
Kira grinned.
We missed you, and came back early. Mama. Timur ran into her arms. How was your trip? They had even brought gifts. Mikhail smiled. I couldn't keep them away. They were asking to come all morning. Marta hugged her children tightly. Their arrival gave her strength. Come in, she said warmly. We have guests. The children stepped into the living room and saw Valentina Ivanovna with Oleg and Zlata. Kira greeted her politely. Timur gave a little nod. Oleg and Zlata returned the greeting. And here they are, Valentina Ivanovna said, glancing at the children. Marta, I hope you enjoyed your vacation? Yes, thank you, Kira replied politely. Well then, the mother-in-law continued. Now you'll have to make some space. Oleg and Zlata are moving in with you. The children looked at each other, surprised. Mikhail frowned. Marta, what's going on? He asked. Valentina Ivanovna thinks Gennady's children should live here with their dad, Marta explained. I don't think I know, the mother-in-law snapped. And who is this Mikhail to stick his nose into family business? He's my brother, Marta replied coldly. So? That makes him a stranger. He should leave and mind his own business. Mikhail turned red with anger. Excuse me, this is my sister's apartment. I have every right to be here. Apartment. Valentina Ivanovna scoffed. This is now a family home, and strangers don't belong in a family. That was it. Marta had had enough. Her mother-in-law had crossed the line. Valentina Ivanovna, Marta said firmly, I'm asking you to leave my apartment. Your apartment? Valentina Ivanovna got furious. Gennady is your husband. That means it's our apartment now. I bought this apartment before we got married. It's legally mine, Marta replied. Property. The mother-in-law sneered. You got married and suddenly forgot what family means. Then something happened that pushed Marta over the edge. Valentina Ivanovna walked over to Kira and Timur and ordered, Go outside. The grown-ups are talking.
Kira looked confused.
But this is our home. Your home, the mother-in-law laughed. You're just guests here. Now out. Go play in the street. We're not going anywhere, Timur said firmly. What do you mean you're not going? Valentina Ivanovna shouted. I said go. These little sheep can graze outside. I have to take care of my grandchildren properly. Silence fell. Mikhail's jaw dropped. Oleg and Zlata looked at their grandmother in horror. Kira went pale, and Timur clenched his fists. But Marta was the most shocked. She never imagined anyone could speak about children like that. Repeat what you just said, she asked slowly. What's there to repeat? Valentina snapped. I told the truth. Your kids belong outside. My grandkids run this house now. Marta looked at her children. Kira was fighting back tears. Timur was trembling with anger and shame. They didn't deserve this. No one did. All right, the mother-in-law continued. Everyone out now. And you, Marta, take proper care of my grandchildren. And that was it. Something snapped inside Marta. All the patience, all the effort to stay polite. Gone in a second. Well then, Marta said quietly but firmly, I'm going to serve everyone properly now. She stepped right up to Valentina Ivanovna. Then, without warning, she grabbed her mother-in-law by the shoulders and dragged her toward the door. What are you doing? Valentina screamed. Let me go. I am serving you properly, Marta said through clenched teeth. Valentina tried to fight back, but Marta was younger and stronger. Years of raising kids alone had made her tough. Oleg!
Zlata!
Valentina shouted. Help me! But the teens stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Marta pulled her mother-in-law to the hallway and shoved her toward the door. Get out of my house, she said sharply. And take your grandchildren with you. How dare you? I'll tell Gina everything. Valentina gasped. Go ahead, Marta yelled. Tell him how you called my children sheep. Because that's what they are. You brought mutts into someone else's house. That was the final straw. Marta completely lost her temper. She grabbed Valentina's bag and threw it into the corridor. Oleg! Zlata, she shouted. Get your things. You're leaving with your grandma. The teens quickly packed. Zlata was crying. Oleg stayed silent and gloomy. I'll never forgive you for this. Valentina screamed from the hallway. You'll regret this. Don't you ever come back, Marta replied, standing in the doorway. And don't you ever call my children animals again. We'll see whose house this really is, her mother-in-law snapped as she left. Marta slammed the door and leaned against it. Her hands were shaking and her heart was racing. The room was completely silent. Mikhail, Kira, and Timur looked at her with both shock and admiration. Mom, Timur asked quietly, did you really kick them out? I did, Marta said firmly. And I did the right thing. But what will Dad Gina say? Kira asked nervously.
We'll find out soon, Marta sighed.
She knew Valentina Ivanovna would already be calling her son, twisting the story to make herself look like the victim. But Marta had no regrets. No one had the right to insult her children. An hour later, Gennady called. He sounded confused and worried. Marta, what happened? Mom called me crying. She said you kicked her out. I did, Marta replied calmly. Because she called my children sheep. What? Gennady gasped. Are you serious? Completely. She said they belong on the street and that I should only take care of her grandkids. That can't be true. My mom wouldn't say that. She did, Gina. Right in front of all the kids. including Oleg and Zlata. Ask them if you don't believe me. Gennady went silent. Marta could hear him breathing heavily. I'll come over now, he said at last. We need to talk. When Marta hung up, she looked over at Kira and Timur. They were sitting close together on the couch. Mom, Timur asked, what if Papa Gina gets mad at us? If he gets mad, then he's not the man I married, Marta replied. Mikhail walked over and hugged her. Marta, you did great. You should have stood up to that woman a long time ago. I thought we could keep the peace, Marta said, tired. But I was wrong. Half an hour later, Gennady arrived. He looked serious, but not angry. He greeted the kids and nodded at Mikhail. Tell me everything, he said. Marta explained the whole situation, not leaving anything out. Gennady listened without interrupting, shaking his head from time to time. She really said they were sheep, he asked again. Word for word. She said, these sheep can graze outside. Marta confirmed. Oh my God, Gennady muttered. I didn't know my mother could say something like that. Now you know, Marta replied dryly. Then something unexpected happened. Gennady took Marta's side. Marta, he said firmly, you did the right thing. No one has the right to talk about your kids like that. Kira and Timur both let out a relieved sigh. Marta felt a heavy weight lift from her heart. But what about Oleg and Zlata? She asked. They're not to blame for any of this. I'll talk to them separately, Gennady said. I'll explain everything. Just then his phone rang. It was his mom. Don't answer, Marta said. Let her cool down. But Gennady picked up. Hi, Mom. Even from the living room, they could hear Valentina Ivanovna shouting. Gennady stepped into the hallway, but her voice still came through the door. The call lasted about 10 minutes. When Gennady came back, he looked even more serious. What did she say? Marta asked. She wants you to apologize, he said. And she wants us to move in with her immediately. And if we don't, she said she'll cut me off from her will and kick me out of the cottage. Marta felt the moment of truth had come. Valentina Ivanovna had moved on to full-blown blackmail. And what did you tell her? She asked. I told her I'd think about it, Gennady admitted. Marta, I don't know what to do. Yes, she's wrong. But if she kicks us out, the kids will lose their home. What kids? Marta asked, confused. Oleg and Zlata, Gennady said. The cottage is in her name. If she kicks me out, they'll have nowhere to live. Marta realized it was time. She had to tell Gennady the truth about the documents. Gina, she said seriously, sit down. I need to tell you something. Gennady looked alarmed. What now? The cottage isn't registered to your mother. What do you mean? Not to my mother? Gennady was confused. Then who owns it? To your late wife. To Elena. Gennady went pale. How do you know? Marta explained how she accidentally saw the documents in his apartment, talked to the notary, and learned about how his mother tried to fake a will. Your mother has been lying to you this whole time, Marta said. The house was never hers. Gennady sat with his face in his hands. Marta could see how shocked and hurt he was. So Mom started something she couldn't finish, she added. She wanted to take the house from Oleg and Zlata and put it under her name. But why? Gennady asked. They're her grandchildren. Because for her, power matters more than family, Marta said. She wanted to control you through the property. There was a long, heavy silence. The kids stayed quiet, sensing how serious everything was. Mikhail quietly went to the kitchen. What do I do now? Gennady asked. Go to the notary, Marta said. Check the documents. Find out who really owns the house and what the kids are legally entitled to. And my mom? She crossed the line when she called my kid sheep. After that, I want no relationship with her. Gennady nodded slowly. I understand. It's just hard to accept that she lied to me my whole life. Marta walked up to him and hugged him. You're not to blame for her actions. She is. Plot twist 9. The final truth. The next day, Gennady went to the notary. That evening, he came home with a thick folder of documents. His face was serious, but calm. Well, Marta asked. You were right, he said. Lena registered the house in her name before she passed. Her will says it goes to the kids when they turn 21. And until then? I'm the legal guardian of the property. Not mom, me. So basically, the house is under your care until the kids are adults?
Yes.
Then it'll be theirs. Marta let out a big sigh of relief. So, your mom can't use the house to blackmail you anymore.
Exactly.
She can't disinherit me or kick me out because the house was never hers. And what about Oleg and Zlata? I'm moving them to the cottage, Gennady said. If mom wants to stay there, it'll be as a guest, not as the owner. If she doesn't like it, she'll have to find another place. She has her pension and savings. Gennady paused. By the way, the notary also said what she tried to do. Faking a will is a crime. Are you going to report her? Marta asked. I don't know, Gennady replied. She's still my mother, but I can't trust her anymore. The next week, Gennady moved Oleg and Zlata to the cottage. Valentina Ivanovna greeted them with screaming and a big scene. But the documents were clear. How dare you throw me out of my own house, she shouted. Mom, it was never your house, Gennady said calmly. You know that. You lived here for 30 years because Lena allowed it. After that, it was with my permission. But you were never the owner. She realized she had lost. The papers left no room for argument. This is all your wife's fault, she snapped. She turned you against your own mother. No, Mom, Gennady replied. Marta just showed me the truth. You turned me against you when you called her kids sheep. And you know what? They're not sheep. They're my children. Her sons suddenly cut her off. Say one more thing like that, and you'll leave this house immediately. Valentina Ivanovna froze. She didn't recognize her usually obedient son. You've changed, she said bitterly. I've grown up, Gennady replied. He was no longer a mama's boy. In the end, Valentina Ivanovna agreed to stay in the cottage as a guest. Oleg and Zlata moved in with their father and quickly got used to the new life. It turned out they hadn't liked their grandmother's strict rules either. Dad, can we see Kira and Timur now? Zlata asked. Of course, Gennady said. We're a family. The kids started getting along better. Oleg and Zlata visited Marta and Gennady on weekends, and Kira and Timur came to the cottage. At first, Valentina Ivanovna ignored Marta's children, but little by little, she got used to them. She still didn't talk to Marta and acted like she didn't see her. But Marta didn't care. Peace in the family mattered more than fake politeness. Gennady was sad about the situation with his mother, but he understood there was no other choice. I lived in a fantasy for years, he told Marta. I thought my mom was helping me, but really she just wanted control. The important thing is, you're free now, Marta replied. And so are the kids. Oleg went to college and wasn't home much. Zlata kept learning music, but now because she wanted to, not because her grandma made her. Kira and Timur also changed. They were more confident and felt secure. They knew their mother wouldn't let anyone treat them badly. 6 months later, Valentina Ivanovna tried to fix things. She invited Gennady to her birthday and gave expensive gifts to the kids. Maybe it's time to let go of the past, she suggested. I forgive you, Mom, Gennady said. But trust has to be earned. And your wife. Marta is not just my wife. She's my partner and the mother of my children. But they're not your blood, his mom protested. Gennady stopped her firmly.
We've talked about this.
All kids in this family are equal. Valentina Ivanovna realized she had lost. Marta now had the place in Gennady's heart that used to belong to her. But she couldn't accept it. She started spreading gossip, saying Marta was ungrateful and treated her badly. Marta heard about it from friends, but didn't respond. Let her mother-in-law pretend there was still a battle. Marta knew the war was over. The only thing Marta really worried about was Gennady's pain. He missed his mother, and sometimes she wondered if it had all gone too far. Maybe I should have stayed quiet back then, she asked. Just taken the insult for the sake of peace? No, Gennady said. You were protecting your kids. You did the right thing. I might have lost my illusions, but my mother is still alive. I just finally see who she really is. Marta understood. He didn't regret what happened. It was hard and painful, but honest. A year passed. Life settled down. The children grew up and became more independent. Oleg got married. Zlata went to music school. Kira wanted to study architecture, like her mom. Timur got into programming. Valentina Ivanovna still lived in the cottage, but stayed away. She barely spoke to her son and rarely saw her grandkids. She looked tired and older. Sometimes, Marta even felt a little sorry for her. But she had chosen control over love. Maybe we should try to make peace? Gennady asked one day. She's not young anymore.
Try if you want, Marta said.
But without me, I don't talk to her anymore. Why not? Because I don't forgive people who insult my children. That's my rule. Gennady nodded. He understood. He tried to talk to his mother. She agreed to meet, but the first thing she asked was, "Will Marta apologize?" For what? Gennady asked. Throwing you out? You started the fight. You called her kids sheep. That's unforgivable. It was just a saying, she said. Gennady saw then that his mom still didn't feel guilty.
She didn't want to change.
There's nothing left to talk about, he said, and left. They never tried to make peace again. Marta heard about it and knew she'd made the right decision. Valentina Ivanovna hadn't changed. She still thought she was right, and everyone else was wrong. People like that never admit their mistakes. It's easier for them to blame the world than look in the mirror. Life went on. Marta grew her business. The children thrived. Gennady finally became a real husband and father, not just his mom's little boy. Sometimes, Marta would remember the awful day when her mother-in-law called her kids sheep. And every time, she was glad she had spoken up. Because silence in moments like that is betrayal. Betrayal of your children, your dignity, and your conscience. And Marta Belousova didn't betray. And never planned to learn how.